occasion for a host.
Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Okay, I guess we're live now. Sorry for the lateness. It seems that our producer was celebrating the Eric Adams victory. As you see, he's no longer our commercial. We're coming up, I believe he said we're going to have a Bill de Blasio for governor commercial. So let me introduce myself. My name is Robert Press. I am the moderator of this show. I have two co-hosts with me. One is Mr. Dion Powell. Introduce yourself, please, Dion.
Hello, everyone. I am Dion Powell at nyconsultant.us. As you can see, I'm a county committeeman of the 79th Assembly District, and I guess that's it for now.
Right, and Mr. Powell did such a great job with his candidate that he came in last again, Sammy Ravello, okay, for the Bronx Borough President race. Anthony, please introduce yourself. Anthony Rivieccio, my other co-host.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Rivieccio. As I tell everyone, I have 3 lives. My first life predominantly is I own and operate an income tax and financial advisory firm.
We don't have much time, Anthony. We started late.
I love you too. The second is I'm a college professor at both Herbert H. Lehman College and Monroe College. And the third life is politics, of which I have too many titles to mention, or we will be here for an hour.
Okay, well, as you can see, I am wearing a New York Rangers shirt since baseball season's over, the World Series is over. So we're getting into hockey, and let's go Rangers. Okay, now let's get into our.
Well, you lost with baseball, so good luck.
Let's go into our agenda. Anything worldwide, guys, that you want to talk about?
I would like to talk about something very interesting locally. And
all right, we didn't get to local yet. Okay, we have nothing going on in the world. Let's see in the nation. Anthony, you were always opinionated about our president. Anything new about our president? How is his policy going?
Well, you know what? Let me mention 2 things nationally. Of course, yesterday we were finding continuing evidence to show that the Wuhan lab might have not just created the actual virus, but now we're finding out, of course, that the Wuhan lab has been funded going as far back as the Obama administration. So, of course, my favorite joke last night was, let's just call it Obama virus. But this morning, you might have heard about the unemployment rate being announced by our president, and how our president announced this morning that he believes our economy is well. And the most important statement he made, which I believe he was totally inaccurate about, was he said, don't worry about temporary inflation because our current wages are over the rate of inflation. So as an economist in my first and second world, I don't know where he lives at, but here in the United States, I don't think wages are keeping up with the rate of inflation.
Dion, anything to say about our president?
Well, so far, how does the saying go in politics? The honeymoon is over, if we ever had one with this guy. Across the board, there are 2 words that I've said at other panels with Biden that's hurt everybody, and the Republicans are sleeping like Virginia coming through, which is gas prices. And that's something so simple that resonates, of course, people across the country for either party, that actually is a sting of a mosquito that trickles up to Biden. So that's going to hurt his street cred, as it were. And that's what I would talk about Biden on that issue.
Well, as we see nationwide, the Republicans did much better than anybody expected. We saw a new Republican governor in Virginia, and in the city council, there's actually 1 or 2 more Republicans. So let's go right into the elections and see what our answers are. Anthony, anything about the election? Who won, who lost, and what's happening in the next year?
Well, Bob, I'm going to ask you to be a little bit more specific because I think we had like over 100 elections. Which
Okay.
election are you referring to?
Let's go for the 3 citywide elections first. All 3 got under 70%. Eric Adams got 67. Whoever the controller is got Brad Lander got 69, and Jumaane Williams got 67. Now, what does that do for the mayor? Is that a man? Does it show that he had the power of the people behind him, or does it say that 1/3 of the people didn't vote for him? Or I should say, 1/3 of the people who voted didn't vote for him because only 1.2 million people voted out of over 8. So he only had 2/3 of 1.2 million. What does that say when an 8 million people city?
That's right, Anthony. You're the numbers guy, so please take the facts, okay?
Well, no, Robert is partially right, but he's actually answering his own question.
That's right,
On
Anthony.
average,
what you should be asking is
the New York City vote. The New York City vote was about 20 to 25%. Per borough, it could have been better or worse. Here in the Bronx, it was around 13, 14%. Is that a mandate? Oh, God almighty. You know what? We can either accept the 20, 25%, or we can go live in Cuba.
Dion, anything to say?
About the mayoral race and the numbers? For the citywide candidates, because I really want to talk about certain city council race, so I'll build up to that. Eric Adams' fatigue or overconfidence, that hurt them out much. All that hoopla and fireworks in June all went away. And they, once again, the overconfidence and assumption that we're just going to vote for them just because they're Democrats. Is really a wake-up call, not here locally, but countrywide now, that the messaging has to change from defund the police and, racism and all those other small issues to actually something that actually affects people. So that's why, the Republicans, independents, conservatives, libertarians, they reflected their vote. And some Democrats too were like, we're not going to be taken advantage of, and all this glitz and glamour is over.
Okay, well, Mayor de Blasio has changed his policy with the unions on the mandate. He's giving them another week. Both of you are still not vaccinated, if I'm not correct. What does this extra week do for you? Because, Anthony, you work for the city.
Oh, so let's start with Anthony and CUNY and how they can't graduate unless they're vaccinated. Come on, Dr.
I work for the state. I work for, wait a second, gentlemen. I work for the state. Let's get that correct. I work for a city college, which is funded by the state of New York. And yes, the state has mandates for professors if they're teaching in-house, of course, not if we're teaching remote. My own humble opinion, CUNY has decided to agree with the mayor in regards to mandates. I do know, and I was hoping it would happen, it didn't happen, that there would be an option of testing. I'm actually a very big fan of weekly or bi-weekly testing, whichever way they want to do it. I think it's a real open policy for all of these minor issues involved that can turn out to be major issues. I think the agreement he made with the unions was, give me a break. I mean, what is it? Till next week, they get to decide what type of religious exemptions they want, and then after that, what are they going to do? Extend it another week?
Well, that's the thing. Even Joe Biden is right now is trying to put pressure on companies to have the mandates as well. But the mandates are another issue, along with that other stuff I mentioned earlier, that's irking a lot of people in their voting pattern. And the people that have been fired, that are Democrats and who are threatened to be fired, those things are reflected at the poll sites as well, as I believe. And as you know, I've been kind of outspoken about mandates, but yes, on-site testing would be great. But then again, some people's companies, as I'm told, they're charging their employees for on-site testing. So you come to work here, get tested. That's one thing. And then me, I just toying around applying for jobs. They're actually giving people that are applying for their jobs, when I ask them, like, if you could bring in a medical exemption, you guys can work. So it's starting to wear people down, these mandates, and people.
Dion, can I follow up on that for just a moment?
Sure. All right, guys, I want to change the subject, so hurry up.
No, but Bob, I think this is very important. There are many companies that announced yesterday on the West Coast that they're going to create a testing policy, but they're going to charge their employees up to $200 a
That is
test.
correct.
Well,
I asked the Blacks, we spoke about that too.
let's introduce our guest here, Jose Padilla Jr. Jose, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? I'm Jose Padilla Jr. I'm a former district leader in the 79th Assembly District, community activist, and a longtime Belmont resident who has run for public office in the past.
Yes, Dion, he got more votes than you did. But let's move on. I want to talk about Jumaane Williams. He only got 67%. What does that do for his possible race as governor? Was that a good showing for him, or is he in trouble? Anybody want to pick up on that?
Real quick, I will. But first and foremost, Mr. Padilla, you look wonderful. It's nice to see you. You look a little extra wonderful. You look like you won the election as opposed to lost it. But to answer your question, I think Jumaane Williams, like we spoke on an earlier occasion, he's going to keep his head out there for as long as he can, so he can make his appropriate deal with the Brooklyn Democrat and Queens Democratic parties. And then once that deal is created, he will, of course, support Tish James.
Dion, any comments?
Well, just like I told somebody on yesterday's panel was on, Jumaane Williams, a lot of people in our community, the Black community, as Anthony Rico likes to call it, are actually seeing through him with his private security and all those other immunities. Now him, Tish James, de Blasio running for governor, hopefully from Brooklyn, they'll chop everything up in the city and Hochul might ease on in. But like I told somebody else, Lee Zeldin, I'm going to tell people the same thing. Tish James cannot win this primary because he loses. But if Tish James loses primary, Lee Zeldin has a great possibility of winning because nobody's going to vote for Jumaane. Kathy Hochul will have a whole bunch of haters on her side, and de Blasio, no way. So that's what I think about that.
That's what people said about de Blasio in 2017. Jose, any comment about Jumaane Williams and its possible future?
Absolutely. His actual winning percentage, 67, is fairly low for a majority Democratic, New York City. Do you think that it may have had anything with the moderate and conservative voters being pushed to the polls because of the, this progressive movement?
That's correct. The whole defund the police situation is what, had a backlash as well, especially with Jumaane and his ultra progressive. Then again, people looked at who the people were backing him with the money on that ultra left, and they didn't really feel comfortable with that.
Well, he was on a New York One debate with his candidate, Dr. Debbie.
Yeah.
And she basically wiped the floor with him.
Yeah.
Right. He was asked, what is, so-and-so, and he says, well, we're instituting this program, that program, this program. And she just said, yeah, but you're not following through on it, and you're not doing this, and you're not doing that, and this. And then I saw something amazing. Earl Lewis turned from Jumaane Williams. He was on her side. And he was asking, just going right to her like he should have gone to Jumaane. I couldn't believe that. And I actually voted for her. I did not vote for Jumaane Williams because of that debate. We need more debates between candidates. Okay.
Well, what was interesting in that particular race was that the Republican candidate received a fairly large number of votes, despite the fact that the GOP's city's electorate is only 10%.
Right. A lot of Republicans did well. Let's go to the Bronx Borough president's race. I was at Vanessa Gibson's victory party. She did very well. I can say she got over 80%. She was there with Althea Stevens, who got the highest of any Bronx council person. She had over 91% of the vote, which is what Bronx people used to get. They used to get 85 or better. And just about every Bronx council person who was on the Democratic line got at least 80% or 85 or better.
That is incorrect. And I'm going to have
we're going to go to one district. Okay, one district was very close, which is a district that I live in. Well, let's see, you were working in it, Dion.
That's right. I'm going to speak at great length about that one. So go ahead, Bob, build it up.
Okay, and that is now Councilwoman-elect Marjorie Velasquez. All right, she was at the victory party with the borough president, and her problem was that right now the numbers show that she only got 55%, and an unknown person who was running on the Republican conservative line beat her in her own district, where she's a district leader. The 13th council district consists of the 80th and 82nd assembly district. The majority is in the 82nd assembly district. Marjorie was the district leader from the 82nd Assembly District. She was also on Community Board 10, which is in the 82nd Assembly District. And she was beaten in her own district by about 200 votes. However, she picked up more votes in the 80th Assembly District, where Mr. Misi should have been stronger.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I'm bringing up over here. Are we talking about the borough president's race or Marjorie's race?
We're talking about the 13th council race, Anthony. You got to move that hair out of your ear.
Because I'm breaking up. That's why I'm at
13th council race.
Well, Bob, again, that goes back to showing that, that that area, particularly, the Trogsec area, is undergoing changes that we've already experienced here in the Central Bronx, where, they have the issues with the upzoning, and they're against that. They're basically attempting to protect their way of life in these areas, Bob. And, and that is the backlash that many of these candidates have received. And, the question is, as the new borough president, comes into, into office in January, it will remain to be seen whether or not, she is going to be pro-business, and continue what we have seen in the Bronx, which is development, overdevelopment, and a displacement of a lot of, single-family homeowners. And so that is the backlash, which, we're experiencing. And as the masses begin to be alerted, it could be a potential problem for the Democrats.
Exactly. Just like when Elliot Engel was defeated, his defeat was caused by him saying, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a primary. So here the choice was that Marjorie was unclear of her opinion of the Foodtown development of 310 new apartments into that area. That would very much change the landscape of the area. And the Misi, her opponent, was at these rallies saying, no.
I think a lot of you gentlemen are wrong. I
didn't even get my pen yet.
Look at that district and go into the district. Most people in that district know that Marjorie was a weak leader going into it, right? She couldn't win her last race for the same seat that she had. She withdrew from running for chairpersonship because of that weakness.
Are we talking 2017?
Outside people and outside factors that some of us know.
Anthony, are we talking
victory, which was barely a victory? If you go to the New York Parrot, of course, you can find out an article on the Northwest Bronx Democrats. It shows that, Robert, in your section, the Northeast section of the Bronx, the Republicans have lived there and they still live there. And of course, with the issues that that Jose mentioned, you couple that on with the current people that live there, and yes, you have a 50 standstill. How does that get changed? Well, it changed in other sections of the Bronx because one gender, one color decided to move out. So in the Northwest, you didn't have that issue. In the South, you didn't have that issue.
Well,
Northeast,
Anthony,
they have homes, right?
Okay.
The children may not live there, but they live there. And the grandparents live there. And so do the two cars. And so does the white picket fence. And so does the door. I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, but Anthony,
I like to chime in here.
Go ahead, Dion. I'll let you talk, and then I'll give you my 2 cents.
I'm going to actually do something different, like I always do, and I'm going to share my screen. I want you guys to take a look at this.
Don't share it.
Do you see this right here? You see these numbers? You see this character right here, Alexander Michi, and the numbers he got. I'm going to stop sharing the screen right there. And Bob, you were there. This man is a character, okay? He kind of looks like the Kingpin had a baby with Lex Luthor. And this guy from Albania, his accent, his freaking exterior of how things work, he turned so many people off that he could have, but no, he should have won that race. You were there at the Van Ness Alliance when he stormed out because they let him speak. But this guy's personality stunk so much. Mark Jonai doesn't want to have anything to do with him. He should have won that race. And I'm here on the ground at the office of Mars Park. Now, the issues that these people on Mars Park are pissed off about, and the reason why he still voted for Republican regardless, number one, the mandates. I was there in the same meeting with you, Bob, when I asked Marjorie as a member of the Van Ness Neighborhood Association, I said, hey, Marjorie, are you for or against these mandates? Because people can't graduate from CUNY, losing their jobs, may lose their jobs. Her answer was horrible. That turned a lot of people off. But then Michi storming out also added to them, like, well, we don't want to vote for this guy either. So they probably didn't vote at all. Then the next thing, the upzoning pissed these people off. You know, next thing, shelters pissed these people off. But the icing on the cake was this, and this is why I'll mention her name, Natalia Fernandez is very vulnerable too, is that Black Lives Matter and all those other protesters over Sumner, they don't forget. They protested, all this other stuff, and you have people like Marjorie, Natalia, everybody else embracing them. So one question that came up in the borough president's race during the primary was from a constituent, yes, Black Lives Matter was shouting and screaming that us residents were racist. Do you think we were racist? So across the board, these people here in this district feel as though they're being victimized, ironically, as racist, and they don't even like that. So this whole liberal progressive agenda with all these sound bites of defunding the police and, you know, all these other freebies that Anthony Rivieccio was saying has pissed off a lot of people. And this race, they're seeing now on paper that it is doable for Republicans to actually run in the Bronx. And I also end with this. We all know the GOP chairman. What's his name? Mike Rendino. I'm pissed off at him too because he did a robocall for borough president and he had highlighted Janelle King as their candidate. Janelle King was a Black woman's name on paper, did zero. But because the Republicans, much to their chagrin as a cult, they were programmed to go on those polling sites and they voted for her across the board. This whole situation is so disgusting.
Let's make sure Dion Powell says that he worked for Sammy Ravello. Okay, and we're going to look on Sammy Ravello's campaign finance disclosure to see just exactly how much Mr. Dion Powell got.
Catch me if you can, buddy, little man. Good luck.
Otherwise, hey, they'll call you in. Just ask Anthony.
Oh, okay. Oh, here's another letter from the ethics committee. Let's see, $200 I owe you. All right, let me put this over here in my filing cabinet called Basura.
All right. Well, let's go. Let's continue in that district. It's the 82nd Assembly District that's Republican. The 80th is Democrat. And that's where Marjorie won, the 80th, 2-1 over Misi. And it's funny because Misi has his office in the 80th.
Alexander Michi. My name is Alexander Michi.
And his office was right down the street from Sammy Ravello's headquarters for borough president. Okay. Right. So how did Sammy do, Dion?
How did he do?
Yeah.
I just told you how he did. You said it earlier, buddy. So
he came in last, right?
Yeah, throw some more hate out there. Come on.
Yeah. But let's the fact of the matter is that let's talk about the low numbers, the low turnout numbers in these races. That's key. We're talking about in the borough of the Bronx where the population has increased at least 200,000 residents. We're talking about only. Oh, at least okay. It has gone from 1.2 million to approximately 1.3, 1.4 million. We're talking about only 100,000 people coming out to vote in a general election. 100,000 people have decided the borough presidency, and as you continue to go further down the line,
Jose, we're now a transient borough.
We are talking about 7,000 in District 15.
Borough.
All right, guys.
We're now a transient borough.
Yes.
Excuse me, mister. What does transient mean?
Means that people are coming and living in the borough
right
for a
now,
couple of years.
The average Bronx
Dion,
in the Bronx for 7 years or less. And if they're moving from one part of the Bronx to the other. So our new Bronxites are more concerned about day-to-day life and moving from one neighborhood to another to eventually, after 7, 8 years, moving out of the Bronx entirety, as opposed to thinking about things like voting.
We're talking about the average, Anthony. The average residential stay is about 3 to 5 years now. And remember that in our specific district in 15, we have a very large amount of displacement going on. So you're right. You know, the borough is becoming transient. You're absolutely right.
Well, you got to think about it. Eric Adams, the whole magic and energy for the minority community across New York City went down because all that glitzing down went down. They either took it for granted, this guy's going to win, I don't even have to care anymore, or the moves that he's made between winning the primary to now has disgusted a lot of people. His sit-downs with Republicans, some of his statements are lack thereof about mandates and some of the policies that de Blasio doing. And now he hasn't even touched the Bible. He's already turning people off with, not even answering phone calls for whatever reason. So a lot of people have been cut off. And I'm just so happy. And it's nothing personal against this guy, but I can't wait for the script to be flipped and more snakery to come out and more people I know personally, as you know personally, that took his money, get snake and bitten. That went so hard for him, raising money for his bath. I just can't wait.
Dion, all right, I just want to answer why, the question of so much transience. If you look at these new buildings that are being built, what are the apartments? There's studios and one bedrooms that have 600 or even 700 square feet, which is the size of a storage locker. And by the way, that's why you have so many storage lockers, because there's no room in apartments to keep anything. They have to take a storage locker to put their belongings into. All right. But these new buildings going up outside of Riverdale, the only place you see 2 and 3 bedroom apartments still being built is in Riverdale, because that's where families are. Otherwise, in the rest of the Bronx, you're seeing single people or 2 people living together, whether they're married, whether they're man and man, woman and woman, or man and woman.
Bob, I got a very important. So then, Bob, I got a very important question for you. If that's the only place in the Bronx, 2, 3, families, just like you said, then don't you think it's time that Riverdale should accept the current program shelter that Riverdale is fighting about? You got Miss Dion and Bowman on one end versus which is on another. Don't you believe now is the time for Riverdale to accept 1-bedroom apartments?
Well, Anthony, I'm glad you brought up that shelter, because it appears that Mr. Bowman, Elliot Engel had an office in Riverdale for as long as he was there, and even the person before him. Congressman Bowman has now left Riverdale. He pulled his office out of Riverdale. These are the people who supported him and voted for him over Elliot Engel, and yet he pulls his office out of there. What he's doing is he's got one day a week at the public library in North Riverdale, which I can't see how a congressman can have an office in a New York City public library.
AOC is guilty too.
It has to be a conflict of interest. Or I was told that there might be a mobile unit out there. And I said, what's it going to be? A Mr. Softy truck? Because any mobile unit will be turned into a political unit for their re-election. As we have seen.
Would they be preparing for the fact that their district may be changing? The fact of the matter is redistricting is going to affect them. So they're potentially saying, hey, we're packing up shop. And what we're going to do is we're going to be mobile temporarily until these lines are drawn. And then we'll go about our business and maybe, foresee the landscape and go where we have to go to seek the vote.
Exactly, Jose.
Well, the same thing that when I asked him, a lot of black people got mad at me on when I asked him about his district office, and he didn't have, when we first got on, is that the priorities aren't really about the constituents. But more importantly, he's a freshman, like AOC was a freshman, and district offices and little constituency services aren't as important as survival and popularity.
Well, let me just go back to Bowman.
Today, Dion, you're sadly right, but that's not how it used to work. And if you want to know why the Bronx was much more united, both from a community and a political standpoint, It's maybe one reason, I can tell you a million, but maybe one reason was because constituent services and the elected official and the community all worked hand in hand. But I do agree
Right.
with you. It's exactly that way today, which is why, and I'm sure Mr. Press will confirm this, that when Miss Biaggi won, she took the office that was in the East Bronx, and that was there forever, moved it to the West Bronx.
That's right, Anthony.
That's
And
another
she
one.
hasn't, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, she's provided very little in constituent services from what I hear from both the East and the West side.
Right.
Well, I can add to that too, because a lot of people are pissed off at Biaggi compared to her grandfather, as we said before. And here on the ground in Van Ness and of Morris Park, a guy by the name of Al D'Angelo said it best. You know, Jeffrey Klein was the best thing in the world, just like Jonah, and Biaggi has not delivered, and yet we still voted for all the glitz and glamour. So she's another person whose day is numbered. Now, hopefully she'll run for Attorney General, but I heard she has too much love for Zypher Teachout.
Now she's moving her district up into Westchester more. She's getting rid of the South Bronx that she has. She goes down to Hunts Point. Jeff Klein made that district into 3 parts: Riverdale, the middle part with the 80th Assembly District, and then South Bronx. That was his protection. And the one thing he didn't count on was South Riverdale killing him, which is what it did. All right. And the IDC was another thing that killed him. But let's go back to redistricting while we have it. It appears that Mr. Bowman.
Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Okay, and as you notice, we don't have the Eric Adams commercials, so this show is looking for commercials. The number is going by on the bottom of the screen. So if you're listening, Bill de Blasio or Letitia James or even Kathy Hochul, you can advertise here, no problem. Just call the number on that's floating by on the bottom of the screen. All right, you have an election next year, so this.
Robert Press, I understand you're running for male district leader. You could have a commercial too.
I could, but I'm the host of the show.
Oh, you said
right.
Hello. Let me type this email to the board.
And if I need a consultant, Dion. No, I'm not calling you.
That's right.
Gentlemen, just going back for a minute, retracting. There was a mention about the possible Attorney General's, candidate running for the AG. But over the last couple of days at the Somos El Futuro, which I like to call Somos El Fracaso conference in Puerto Rico, State Senator Shelley Meyer has announced that she is intending to run for the Attorney General spot.
And she's not a third person. She's not a third person.
Right. There were 2 others.
According to outgoing borough president's statement, is that should Eric Gonzalez, the district attorney for Kings County, should he decide to jump into that race, that he would support him. Because now Diaz Jr. is on a campaign to advocate for more Latino representation in government. So, those are a couple of interesting facts.
Robert Rodriguez is getting pumped up.
All right, guys. I just want to mention that. All right, I was at the Vanessa Gibson victory party, and when I came home, I watched the Eric Adams speech.
How did you know, Robert?
All right. There was one thing I didn't see at both events, and that was any Bronx Democratic Party representation. You're going to say the borough president was there, Anthony, but maybe he is a bona fide member of the Bronx Democratic Party.
I didn't say the borough president was there. Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say no such thing. What I said to you off camera, and I'll say it, is I think it's a little unfair for you to pick at a party when it takes now 2.5 hours to get to Brooklyn after an election. Eric Adams had that party at 20 minutes. It went live 20 minutes after the polls were closed. That's why you saw 99% Brooklynites.
Okay, so what about Vanessa Gibson, the borough president's party? Why was Jamal Bailey not there, or anybody else from county? You know where they were? They were on a plane down to Puerto Rico already.
Jose Padilla just answered the question.
Right,
Jose
they were on a plane to Puerto Rico.
Question. Everybody went to Somos.
Right.
Which is now financed not by the people, but it's financed by the Black and Puerto Rican Legislative Caucus, which I remind everyone is the same caucus that Tish James said she was going to audit 3 years ago before Donald Trump, and she still hasn't finished her audit yet.
Anyone want to jump in? Go ahead, Dion.
Gentlemen, you got to remember that there were various election night parties that were, separate from the actual county, party. They had various parties. So, at this point, maybe it could have been because everybody was flying out to, to Puerto Rico, which the island desperately needs some of the, the attention and the monetary resources that most of these politicians are going to spend out there. As the theme says, it's the recovery, la recuperación this year for the annual Somos conferences theme. So, but like I say, it's Somos el fracaso. And the reason why I say that, Bob, is because we are 29% of the electorate in the city of New York, and we have no Hispanic leadership that is going to, and we have a vacuum, and that's the reality.
That's because of the previous elected officials.
Jose, I'm reading this from this week's City and State magazine, okay? This conference is sponsored by the likes of Uber, DoorDash, State Board in New York, Montefiore Hospital, the State Senate and Assembly Puerto Rican Caucus, first established in 1988. That was not the same original Somos that was created. So, of course, as we've all seen from the video, I don't know what kind of workshops they're trying to have. City and State says they're doing it for the benefit of Puerto Rico. The only thing I see benefiting there are the salsa dancers that'll probably have made $1 billion by now.
Right, and Anthony, also, it's for elected officials, unions, it's for companies to lobby your elected officials, and others. It's not. They'll get some work done, but the parties are at night.
No, but that answers, Bob, your original question. If everybody went, well, that's why nobody was at Vanessa's party.
Well, consultants are there too, so I wonder why Dion didn't.
Absolutely. Some of the most biggest lobbying firms are currently there. So they're hobnobbing and they're trying to get their upcoming legislative projects. Trying to get it into the.
You gentlemen know? Do you know who created? Do you created the lobbying unit for Somos? Do you guys know who's in charge in unit for Somos? It is former chairman Crespo, now in charge of Montefiore Hospital.
Monty is the first sponsor of it. That's the biggest sponsor.
But back to Jose's point to the Latino representation.
Monty is there. No, let's get it right, sir. Let's get it right. Monty, just as a sponsor, they are there as the lead participant to create a unit for Somos.
Right. Anthony, they want legislation that's going to help Montefiore and increase their profits, and that's why they're doing it.
And remember, Bob, that they are probably the biggest employer in the Bronx at this point right now.
And Westchester now, because they've taken over hospitals in Westchester. But no, I mean, consultants are there. So Dion, why, as a consultant, why didn't you go to Sumos?
Thank you for asking that question. I didn't go because I'm black. It has nothing to do with me.
Well, no, Dion, I take exception to that because we have a lot of prominent African Americans attending the conference, and it's about, building a bond. But in my case, I decided not to go because
Dion didn't go for one reason only, and it's right here. This is why Dion didn't go. The $375 general admission tickets to attend this gives access to workshops, etc., etc. Dion is Mr. Free.
No, I didn't. I didn't want to be.
But Dion, trust me. Unless you salsa dance, you didn't miss nothing.
Just like caucus weekend. Now I'm at the part where I'm matured, like you guys here with the gray hairs, and I want to be a out there styling and profiling. I want to actually be here on the ground doing the work. But I want to go back to Jose's point of the Latino vote, which I believe from the African American community is being taken for granted, just like the Asian, specifically Islander vote, because those people in Queens that are Asian, they're not too happy. They're thinking the Black Lives Matter, racist sound bites, defund the police sound bites are going to work with them. That doesn't work with the Asians as well. So now there's no reflective leadership in the government. We'll see what happens. Like I said before, Robert Rodriguez, Assemblyman, who goes promoting up the food chain. But yes, those votes will be reflected next year as well.
Okay, in our final few minutes, guys, we talked about how the 13th Council District is weak. We have the 82nd Assembly District, which now has 3 candidates. It is the first time in many years that Michael Benedetto will be facing a real challenge.
Ooh.
All right, because when Jeff Klein lost, I said to him, well, if you, Natalia Fernandez, and Dinowitz had primaries, Jeff Klein could still be in there. And he said, oh, no, I didn't want a primary. I might have lost. And we saw Giulio Cemitelli get 17% against him.
Cemitelli.
Right?
Nice.
1% Cemitelli got 17% against him. So this
Jose,
year,
you like Cemitelli? You don't like Cemitelli, Jose?
Oh, this year it's going to be the man.
No. Listen, Cemitelli and I go back to our Bronx Community Board 6 community days. So I've known Cemitelli for a long time, but it's interesting. I like Bob's comment, 1% Cemitelli, and it goes back to his city council candidacy days. So but we've known each other for a long time.
Good.
The challenges are going to be Matt Cruz, the district manager of Community Board 10, which seems to be a kind of get back at Benedetto because Benedetto backed Marjorie Velazquez's opponent. Now, Matt is a solid candidate. I like Matt, and he's an excellent district manager. Also in there is Al Quatabaro, who has just flown
his
down
name
to...
is pronounced Al Quatabaro, African-American.
Has flown down to... But Dion, Al is black, and he just flew down to Puerto Rico. So that your argument is wrong that, I'm black, I couldn't go. Al just went down there to Sumos. So
too many Taino Gengins, too many Taino.
Well, Anthony hit it on the head. It's the money.
What money?
The money.
Are you sure?
It would have cost more than you got from your campaign.
It's November. The weather's horrible down there. It's November.
Oh, no, you didn't see any of Jose Rivera's videos. Okay, go look at Jose Rivera.
It was 88 degrees, gentlemen. It was 88 degrees last night. So it's been fairly warm, and it's, the pina coladas and the drinks are rolling.
Hurricane season.
And the only thing,
Sharks.
Anthony, did you see any of the videos by Jose? There's only one thing that I could say. It looks like it's run down. It doesn't look new. Everything looked old to me. It looked like it was battered, and they just didn't fix it up. They painted a little, but look at Jose Rivera's videos, and you'll see.
Well, that's why they come. The theme of the conference this year is the La Recuperación, which is the recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So that tourism is big in the island, and so they're hoping that the tourism dollars will affect the economy. and the economy right now is very bad in Puerto Rico. So, it's something that they're facing. Yeah, they're facing they're facing a crisis, and it is what it is at this point.
That's right. And Mr. Press, before we end, you forgot about the 5 ballot proposals on the ballot this year. Do you know what they are, Press? Do you know what they are, Press? Do you know which one turns?
Oh well, Dion.
Do you know what they are? Do you know
Wait a minute, Dion. You missed our show last week when I went over the 5 ballot proposals.
Really?
Okay. Had you been on the show last week, you would have known about it.
Do you know which one's passed, huh? Do you know which one's passed?
Only 1 and 3 passed.
What?
Only 2 and 5 passed. 1, 3, and 4 were defeated.
You sure about that?
1, 3, and 4.
What does number 1 pertain to? What does it say in the language? Okay. What's number 1? Why did number 1 fail, do you think?
Because there was opposition to it. It was vote no on 1, 3, and 4.
By who?
There was a lot of money for you too.
Anthony Riccio's tickled pink over there. What's going on? I'll tell you why, Press. I'll tell you why.
Go ahead.
Number 1 failed because number 1 pertains to redistricting. No, is because if the language said that what legislative political party had the majority would control redistricting, and I think it should be more bipartisan. That's why I voted no. So, Press, why don't you tell us about the other 4? Why did people vote no for that, upstate and downstate?
Because number 2, we're supposed to have clean water. Okay, and I'm not going to go through the rest of them, Dion.
You know what they are, Press? Do you know what they are? Do you want to read them? You know what they are?
I do, but it's done. It's a done deal, Dion.
I'm sorry, that's all the time we have. That's all the time we have. I'm sorry.
I want to talk about. We talked about the 82nd Assembly District. Let's talk about the 80th. Anthony, do you think Natalia Fernandez is solid in the 80th Assembly District, and why? Oh, Anthony, you still with us?
I think he's solid.
Look how pink he is. Smoke a Lucy. Let's go.
Can you hear me?
He's turned pink. Look at him. Tickled pink.
Yeah, that was very funny. Robert, I think just like Marjorie, she's very
because Natalia picked up about 2,500 votes when she ran for borough president in the 80th Assembly District. That was the only district that she won, and she won it barely. Marjorie Velazquez picked up 4,000 votes, I believe, in the 80th Assembly District. Misi picked up about 2,000. All right, that's where she won it, in the 80th Assembly District. So I'm told this guy Remy Salas could be the next assemblyman. All right, Natalia Fernandez is going around pushing him, and he says he's running for district leader, but Natalia told me he might be running for her spot because it appears she wants to go into either Eric Adams' administration or Kathy Hochul's administration. Any comment, anybody?
It looks like you're a little green around. Look like a little green around the grill from your freaking vaccine.
2 things. Number 1, we're going to find out there are going to be several candidates that are going to be coming out for that seat. No one has come out official yet. Even Natalia has not come out officially yet. But I think most of us know that there could be up to 4 people, including the former assemblyman, Mr. Mark Donai, possibly running for that seat.
Mark is done. I'm sorry.
Dion, you have any comment about the 80th?
If you believe that Mark is done, Dion, then that just you don't live in Van Ness. You're just visiting Van Ness.
I'll bet you a short stack of pancakes that he doesn't
Let's say you go home to the South Bronx where you live. You don't have a clue as to what's happening in my district. In my district.
Okay, Morris Park.
Are you still with us, Jose?
I most certainly am, Bob. I'm enjoying the commentary.
You ran in the 15th Council District. That covers part of the 80th Assembly District. What's your opinion about Natalia Fernandez? Is she strong? Is she weak? Can she be beat?
I like rhymes.
Well, can she be beat? Potentially, yes. Is she strong? I believe that you have to remember that part of her team has been separated. The two district leaders are, were not part of her slate before. So, it remains to be seen whether she'll be able to garner enough help should she need it. But in terms of her potential leaving, it would make more sense for her to go back to remember, she worked for the Cuomo administration. So they're familiar with her, with the Cuomo administration. I don't think that she supported Eric Adams, or she publicly came out and supported Eric Adams as some of the other officials
She
here in
did,
Bronx
but she don't have a chance.
Right, for the primary, and it may have been because she probably was, concerned with her own race for borough presidency.
Well, wait a minute. You touched on something there. She worked in the Cuomo administration? Gee, what did we hear about? Well, Anthony, you want to comment about that? About Natalia working in the Cuomo administration?
Yeah, she was the borough rep. She was the Bronx borough rep.
As we spoke in a prior show that I don't think Mr. Powell was present because he was too busy working. We spoke about that, and we spoke about how both Miss Fernandez and Miss Biaggi both worked in the Cuomo administration. They both time working more closely with Miss Hoppel, which is why what Jose says makes perfect sense. It makes absolutely no sense that she'll be going to the Adams administration. The pecking order is too big, and she's down too far. But in the Hoppel administration, does she have a good? I think she has a very good shot. The real question is that Hoppel? That's the bigger question.
Beautiful goddess queen, Miss Tatiana.
And it would make, gentlemen, and it would make a little bit more sense for her. Remember, Governor Hochul is now seeking re-election, and the Latino vote is going to be very important in the coming gubernatorial election. So, as a Hispanic, there might be potential for her there.
Okay, guys, we're about to close the show. Thank you for coming on. All I can say is, the election still is not final, but it looks like this is what's going to be. We have our elected officials. Any last words from anybody?
Election's over. Election's over. Let's get to the good stuff. The election's over. Let's get to the good stuff. Jose, you to Belmont. When we having lunch?
Wait. You see, if Alexander Michi would have paid me to be his consultant, I would say the following to this guy. I said, now is the time for you to use some of that money, and let me take you to the sub basement. Let me take you to the dungeon, because I want you to count these ballots individually. You have a slim chance to pull an upset, Mr. Michi. But I'll tell you what your friend Mark Garrett told me, Mr. Press. Mark Garrett, this short Jewish guy from Riverdale, comes to our office. He said, Dion, guess what? I went to Alexander. Hold it, stop laughing yourself silly. Watch this. He said, Dion, I don't like Alexander Michi. I said, Mark, why is that? You like everybody.
Mark, correct. Who is he?
Mark, you like everybody, even Robert Press. And everybody hates that guy. What? So he said, Dion, I went to Alexander Michi's office to give him a campaign contribution. And you know what he told me? He told me I need to go to the post office to get a money order. I don't like that guy. He kicked me out. And I was like, wow, Mark, that's messed up. That shows you what kind of freaking animal this guy Michi is. To kick somebody with cash in hand and send them to the post office to get a money order. Mark did not do anything but give that money somewhere else. I won't say.
Well,
you mean 347-575-5045. Feel free to contribute.
This guy changed my name.
Let's wait a minute, guys. Let me put my plug in for my blog, 100% Bronx. It's www.100%PERCENTBRONX.BLOGSPOT.com. 100% blog. Blogspot.com.
You said 100 Democrats? You said,
and I also have a Facebook page, 100%.
You said 100 Democrats? 100
Democrats. You said 100 Democrats?
No,
Democrats. You said 100 Democrats?
100 Democrats. 25% Riverdale.
All right, Anthony, plug your Facebook page.
Jose, but it's all Jose's turn.
Just go to the search
Gentlemen,
page
I'm
of
not
Facebook, type in Northwest Bronx Democrats, and you can find wonderful people like Mr. Press, Mr. Powell, and even Mr. Peeks in like once a week, seeing what's on our wonderful page of over 2,000 elected officials and political muckety mucks at Northwest Bronx Democrats.
Sorry, but at the New York State free-thinking Democrats in the South Bronx and beyond, we should be able to break 1,000 people by the end of the year. So there you go. Below Tremont, IHOP, pancakes, over to Jose, Somos El Futuro. Tell us what the Boricuas and Italian engines.
Well, wait a minute. Aren't you going to change that very soon to the United States free-thinking Democrats? I mean, after all, you went from South Bronx to state. Now you need to go federal.
Well,
gentlemen, one very important note. We forgot to discuss, the city council speaker race.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Jose. That's right.
And
We forgot to talk about half of the city council races.
Do you know what the candidates are, Bob? Do you know what the candidates are? Do you know who Kennedy Cruz is, Bob? You know who that is? Kennedy Rivera? Huh, Bob?
You want to know who get it? Dion, you want to know who's going to get it?
Who's going to get it? Salamanca? You said Salamanca last time, right?
No, I didn't say Salamanca.
Yes, you did.
The person who's going to get it is the person who has the backing of the Bronx and the Queens County organization.
Oh, really?
Just like last time.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the county organizations are going to talk to each other, and they're going to make deals, and they're going to decide who the next speaker is, not the city council.
You said Farrah Lewis? Okay, she's from Brooklyn.
The city council people are going to be told who to vote for.
Like Farrah Lewis from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, she's going to be told who to vote for.
Okay, we'll see.
Hey, I get mailings from her, Dion. I'm on her mailing list.
Yeah, I got an email from her too. Wonderful person, isn't she?
Mm-hmm. So, Jose, quickly, in 2 years, you're going to have the city council running again. Any idea, any plans of you running again for the 15th council race?
Bochinche.
Probably at this point, Bob, I would say that the likelihood is very nil. The voters had an opportunity, my agenda, my platform, if you guys were following it, it went on a citywide basis. I talked about crime. I talked about the pandemic. And I also talked about business in the community. So my platform was carried over, to a citywide platform. And, the voters failed to come out on election day. So at this point, I would say, the likelihood would be no. Unless, something comes up, probably not.
Well, because people in the district are telling me that Oswald Feliz is doing a great job, and it's most likely they'll vote for him again. So, do you see anybody running against him that could beat him? I mean, is he doing that good a job as you think, or as people think?
I would say, I call him Councilman Clueless, as you guys know. At this point, it's more himself believing that he's doing a great job. We got to go back to the days of when Joel Rivera was councilman, where they claimed that they brought in thousands and thousands and millions of dollars into the district, and the district looked worse than it ever did before. So, it remains to be seen. At this point, I don't think he's doing a great job. It's more philosophy, and it's more, himself inflicting that kind of attention to him, that he's doing that. But in terms of monetary, I would say no. And what's interesting is that Ariel Diaz, the Republican candidate, received about 16% of the vote.
Right. But no, going back to what you said about Joel Rivera, his chief of staff ran for the seat when Joel was term limited out.
You know his name, Bob? Do you know his name, huh? Do you know his name? I do.
Albert Alvarez.
Oh, okay.
All right. And Al said that we brought thousands and thousands of dollars into the district. And when I said to him, why don't you tell the people where you brought it in? He couldn't. And at least I know, and Jose knows, that a lot of money went into the Belmont Library by Joel Rivera. Am I correct?
They did some interesting upgrades in the Belmont Library, but now they're seeing a transition where there's more money coming into the Belmont Library. But overwhelmingly, supposedly the district money went to a lot of organization. And to be honest
Jose,
with you,
let's be frank. Jose, let's be frank. The west side of the 15th Councilmatic District is not represented by Oswald Feelys. It is represented by Fordham University.
All right, guys, we're going to have to close the show. I want to thank our viewers for watching. And let's just say goodbye, everybody. And thank you for watching. And the numbers
Bye, everybody.
Just come on.
Keep watching The Politics every Friday,